Welcome to Mindset Monday. This is the first of a series at the Grit Institute where we're looking specifically at mindset. Many of you may know me already as Shannon Huffman-Polson. I'm the author of The Grit Factor. And you know that within the Grit Factor, there are three different sections that correspond to the Grit triad of commit, learn, and launch. That's owning our past, that's deep engagement in the present, and that's looking towards the future with that groundedness and that engagement. Well, we're looking today at a piece of that engagement, but this piece is so important, this idea of mindset, that it really becomes the circle that surrounds the Grit triad. The idea of mindset is that only you have the opportunity and the responsibility to regulate how it is that you think about what it is that happens to you in your day-to-day life, how it is that you respond to external factors, and how it is that you look at the art of the possible. So the three different aspects of mindset that we're going to dig into and give you very specific and tactical tools to be able to develop are optimism, mental agility, and self-regulation. Let's start with optimism. Now, when we talk about optimism, we know for sure from every study that's been done on the Vietnam POWs as one particular set, that three different independent studies identified that optimism was the key to their success and the key to their ability to then reintegrate after their imprisonment back into the world. We know that this is not being a Pollyanna. This isn't pretending that everything is okay. There was absolutely nothing okay with what it is that they endured. But at the same time, it was an absolute faith that they could believe that things would work out in the end. They certainly didn't have control over their circumstances, right? And many of us may find ourselves at times in places where we don't have a lot of control over our circumstances either. But what they did have control over was believing in the end. They believed in the end, and they were able to find their way. They believed in the end, and they were able to negotiate the challenges that came their way such that they would constantly be adjusting to changing circumstances, moving towards that successful end, that end of being released, that end of rejoining their friends and their family back in day-to-day life. So optimism is key to our success. Now, I like to call this in the Grit Factor, I call this measured optimism or sometimes grounded optimism. And the reason we do that is because it is this utter and complete belief in the end, but it doesn't at all negate what it is that we're facing in the present. This is what's classically known as the Stockdale paradox. So how can we train this mindset of optimism when sometimes we have a tendency to look a little bit on the dark side? We're going to start today with one particular exercise that doesn't have to take a lot of time, but I'd love it if you could block off about 5 minutes. And we're going to go back and remember a time that gave you great pleasure. Maybe this was the birth of your child. Maybe this was your wedding or your daughter's wedding. Maybe it was the time that your son had a piano recital, or maybe it was the time that you made a soccer goal. It can be absolutely anything. It can literally be the day that you woke up early and you saw the sun rays coming in at a particular angle and the color of the sunrise. So take a moment to decide what time it is that you want to go back to and remember. Now, don't think too much about it. Don't think about the different parts of this. I just want you to put yourself in that moment. You can close your eyes if you like. Put yourself in that moment and imagine what it is that you're seeing. What do you see with your eyes? What do you feel on your skin? Maybe it's cool air. Maybe it's the heat of the summer. Maybe it's just the tingle of excitement. What do you hear? What do you hear around you? What do you hear in the voices of those that are present with you? Maybe it's birdsong that you can hear in the distance. Maybe it's wind that you can hear coming through the trees. Maybe it's the sound of cars on the highway. Think about whether or not you can taste something. Is there anything that you can taste in this moment? Maybe you're having your coffee as you look at that sunrise. Maybe you remember the wedding cake. What is it that you can taste? Let yourself sit in this moment. What it is that you can see, what you can hear, what you can feel. Engage all of your senses in this memory and hold that memory there. Don't think too much about it. Just feel what it was like to be in that moment. Maybe it was sunset as you were rafting on a river. Maybe it was that feeling of getting to the top of a hill and feeling the blood in your legs and the breath in your lungs. What is it that you feel? This opportunity to create this moment, to savor those times in our lives that are precious, that meant a lot to us, that still speak to us even today, maybe even years later. That's part of training your mind towards optimism. Give yourself 5 minutes, anytime it is that you need it, to return to a moment that brought you joy. And think about each aspect of it that contributed to that joy, how it is that you experienced it with your whole body, with your mind, with your spirit, with your heart. And thank you for joining me on this journey of Mindset Mondays. We're here to help to encourage leaders, to help to build leaders for a better world.